Hello and welcome to another bonus episode of Hockey Inside Out. What do you think it would take for the Canadiens to acquire a legitimate top six forward during the offseason? Stu?
I think it's going to take their second first-round pick, which I'm almost certain Kent Hughes will trade, and it would have to be packaged, I think, with a young player, like maybe a Jordan Harris, and a prospect. I think it's going to take three pieces minimum to get a top six forward, and they have to get one. The good part from the Canadiens' point of view is that Kent Hughes has a lot of cards to play. He's loaded with young defensemen. He's loaded with draft picks. I mentioned Jordan Harris as a possibility. Like, they could afford to lose Jordan Harris. They have enough other young guys coming up, or one of the other young defensemen. But I think it's going to take at least three pieces minimum. As I said, a first-round pick, a prospect already playing in the NHL, and maybe another prospect who's not in the NHL just now.
I mean, as a coach, mine St. Louis, rather than talk about prospects, would like to have some help now. And if they want to be competitive, they're going to have to find a way to move some of their guys that they have currently on their roster to get something back now versus a prospect that might take 2 or 3 years down the road, which as a coach is way too long, and as a fan, it might be long also. So. I think that Ken Hughes has got to look at, okay, prospects, rebuild, but how can we get somewhat of a quicker impact by having somebody, I don't know who would be available, but entertain the thought of bringing somebody in that's going to have some impact now or next year versus waiting 2 or 3 years to get a prospect and maybe will work out.
Yeah, there's players available. One of the things, if you're looking for a top six forward, one of the guys that I've been looking at is Dawson Mercer in New Jersey, who's fallen completely out of favor there for whatever reason. Scored 27 goals last year. He's a good player, good draft capital. He's available, I would assume, in the offseason, especially considering he's going to be a restricted free agent who will probably command more money than New Jersey wants to pay when they're currently playing him on the fourth line half the time. But I think the Canadiens are in a position where chasing a mid-range top six forward is a bit of a waste of time. I think they have a lot of good prospects who could fill those holes. We look at what Joshua Waugh is doing right now. I think there's other players in the organization who can do similar. I think they need to go big game hunting. I think it's time to flex the possibility of finding a superstar, and I know it's way tougher to do, but there are options in the next 2 years. There's Elias Pettersson in Vancouver who could be available. You might have to sell the farm for him, but it's worth it. And then there's, in 2025, there's 2 unrestricted free agents that the Canadiens could look at. One more attractive than the other, obviously. But Sidney Crosby is up. He could come to his favorite childhood team, end his career there. I have no concerns about Crosby's age. I think that he's going to be a great player until he's 45. And then there's also Leon Draisaitl. The Canadiens are going to have a lot of contracts ending with a lot of cap space. The cap's going up. And Edmonton has to worry about McDavid the following year and Evan Bouchard the same year. So you've got a guy who's already performed in a tough Canadian market on a rebuilding team that's ready to contend maybe in a couple of years. There's opportunities there. I want to see the Canadiens go big game hunting and acquire a superstar, whether it's the draft, a trade, or a free agent signing.
And Kent Hughes has the ammunition or the bait to go big game hunting. I mean, asset management, right? He's piling up all these draft picks. He's got all these young defensemen. He's got a lot he could offer a team, like you mentioned, like in Edmonton, that's going to be tight up against the cap. Young guys who don't make a lot of money, and draft picks, they're first-round picks that are probably a couple of years from getting into the NHL. So he's got a lot of cards he can play if he does want to go big game hunting. And it'll be interesting to see if he's ready to do that, let's say, this offseason, or if, as you mentioned, Andrew, wait until the following year when maybe there's some better targets out there.
Well, share your thoughts below. If you were Kent Hughes, what would you do to acquire a top six forward? And make sure you check out Hockey Inside Out for our full episode.